news is going backwards and forwards.
Right.
Are we in a recession? We aren't in a recession.
Yeah.
But I'm going to argue it's actually irrelevant. The most important thing, by far and away, is how are we communicating with our employees? Here's why.
Episode 208 of the Dan Bradbury Podcast. We're doing good, my friend. Coming into the second quarter of the year. Business is looking fine. We're 1 quarter of the way through the year. Let's hope all the listeners are 1 quarter of the way toward their goals as well.
You're somewhat philosophical today.
It's because of the beard. Beards make you think because you can do this a lot.
Yeah, apparently beards make you appear more intelligent, Topher. They don't actually make you more intelligent. There's not like sentient intelligence in the
No,
in
it
the
is.
hair
It's
follicle.
right here. It's the gray part. This is the smartest part of the beard right here. All right, my friend. Let's move on to it. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the news of the week.
The news of the week this week is that the UK will not enter a recession this year. Obviously, this came out a little while ago.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Does anybody really even care? Right. So,
don't know.
Jeremy.
I'm beginning to feel like an abuse victim. You know, it's like, come here, smack. Come here, smack. I'm like, I don't know where to go now.
Well, so this was from the recent budget speech from Jeremy Hunt, or as actually I want to name him, but I know I can't say who said to me this quote. He goes, his name's not. He goes, who's the Chancellor? He goes, it rhymes with Hunt. That's his actual name.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
Yeah. Well, especially I'll tell you off the record who that person was, and if I mentioned his name, I would get sued, guaranteed. He would still be my friend, but he would sue me for making that comment. So look, Jeremy Hunt was saying that the economy wasn't going to be in a technical recession in 2023. Oh my God!
Because that's what people really want to hear, is that technically their lives aren't fucked up.
Yeah, right. Look, I mean, simplistically, the technical definition of a recession is 2 declining quarters of GDP growth. So GDP decline for 2 consecutive quarters, right? Unless you're the United States, in which case you make up whatever rules you want and call it a recession, right?
That's how we roll. That's how we roll, bro.
100%. But still the UK is predicted to decline overall this year, but it's going to avoid a recession. But frankly, Topher, there's loads of this news. We are in a recession. We aren't in a recession. I'm going to argue it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is how we're communicating with our friends, family, our employees about what's going on.
Repeat that last part. Our employees. That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah. Here's why. It's not so much about the reality as the perception that they're living through and how we respond.
Yeah.
Look, a brief bit of technicality. Just indulge me for 10 seconds. Regardless of what's going on in the GDP, inflation means that your money goes less far. It buys
less. Yeah.
Correct. So even if we're not in a recession, because of the cost of living crisis, the average man or woman on the street is feeling the pinch. Right. So even if they've got pay increases, if inflation's at 10%, but your pay increase was 5%, like you're still
down 5. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, it still might feel painful. So. Look, we've said it regularly on this podcast, we can't make decisions. The government isn't going to make your life great, nor is it going to really make your life suck. You're the one that's got much more control over your business than the government. They just dictate certain guardrails, which we're, I was going to say supposed to play inside, but I'm going to just say play inside, right? Okay, fine. But you just need to be dialed in about how are your employees, as a business owner, how are your employees reacting?
Yeah.
How do you communicate? Because you've got probably more ability to influence their perception of what it means for their job security, what it means for their life, than what Jeremy Hunt says on the television.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I had this was years and years ago. I was having a bad day, and my general manager.
It's because you didn't have a beard.
Could have been, yeah. But I was having a really bad day, and my general manager came in, and he goes, Topher, you're bringing everybody down. And I was so grateful for him to be able to just look at me and just be blunt and say, yeah, fix your shit. Whatever's going on, get rid of it, because you're bringing down the entire team. And when you think about if business owners are coming into work every day stressed out because they read in the news that the economy's hard, and they're carrying that into their conversation with individuals, they could be bringing their staff down. And by the way, become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then everybody's inefficient. Because they're inefficient, they produce less. Because they produce less, they make less. Because they make less, all of a sudden, now they're worse off.
Right. I mean, it drives me crazy, Topher. Like, in any time, the economic cycle, good or bad, they've been in good times, plenty of people have gone broke. In bad times, plenty of people have made fortunes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the entrepreneurial way. And again, I know your point's not about the budget, but to kind of marry the two together, this budget was allegedly aimed at, I'm saying allegedly just to distance myself, because I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but there were incentives to target economically inactive people, right? Which has risen. So because of the pandemic, a lot of people left the workforce, didn't come back. I think we're facing a real productivity crisis. So there's
no question.
There's fewer people, so there's fewer working people supporting the people that aren't working. Now, I want to be clear. There's certain people that have needs, and a healthy functioning society should take care of the people with those needs. But the number of people that are neither working nor looking for a job between 16 and 64, sort of working age, rose by more than 500,000, 630,000 people in the last 3 years. Right? So this budget is giving tax incentives for parents from a childcare perspective. It's also increased the amount you can put tax-free into a pension. So in the UK, it's for a long time been £40,000. It's going up to £60,000. And of course, Labour have attacked that as being only for the richest people. But the government have countered, well, it's to get incentivise doctors. Taking away this cap is incentivising doctors to work and not going, no, I'm done, I'm out, right? To cut the NHS waiting list times. Who knows who's right? But I do think, Topher, it is what you make of it. So you've got to be clear about how you're communicating to your team about what this means for them.
Yeah, no question about that. And that's going to carry greater weight than some stupid news article telling you that it's not as bad as you think it is because we've manipulated the numbers in some specific way.
Right, because by the way, next episode, the stats will have changed. Inflation's up, really inflation's down. Oh, the predicted GDP growth is going to be this. No, it's not. It's going to be that. It's kind of like, at the end of the day, you can't control that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't have a degree of awareness, but I think people overly weight this stuff and get out of control.
No question. On your own. Okay, let's talk about the fail of the week.
Fail of the week is men.
Men. How so?
So specifically, there's been some research produced that reveals a toxic culture gap between women and men. It speaks about women were 35% more likely to mention toxic culture, defined as disrespectful, non-inclusive, cutthroat, abusive, or an unethical, right, versus men. So 35%, women were 35% more likely to use this terminology.
Do you have anything you want to add to this?
Nothing to add, Your Honor.
I'm good. I'm not going to talk about it.
Look, fine. I will be the pioneer that takes an arrow in the back.
Remember when we did the podcast about the fail of the week, Burger King making fun of trans people, and we felt like we were walking on eggshells? I feel like we're in that territory again on this one today. I feel like I'm walking on some eggshells right now.
Right. Yeah, no comment. So there's two alleged men. So I'll speak to it. Well, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I say as clearly, as men, not as women. I don't have first-hand experience of what it must be like as a woman's being a masculine toxic culture, work culture.
Let's clarify first. We don't know what it's like to be a woman working in a male-dominated area.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And as impartial as I can attempt to be, I just look and say, so the fact that women, it's a fact, according to this research, that women are 35% more likely to mention toxic culture. Does that mean women are more at risk of the toxic culture, or is it they're at risk as men? They're just more, they speak up about it more.
Yeah. Or Okay, so there's two perspectives here, right? One is do men just not speak up about it? Or two, do men just not consider it toxic? Right?
There you go.
I mean, think about it. Look at how you and I treat one another. We show our respect and our love for one another by trying to insult each other as hard as we could. The bigger the burn, the more the respect.
100%.
Yep.
It's funny. We're pretty open on the air, but honestly, if you listen to this right, you should see the stuff that doesn't make the cut. It's so hardcore that it is absolutely downright abusive. In fact, we had a text conversation this weekend, and I can't remember what it was. I mean, normally with Topher, he's a pretty easy target. Let's be honest. We go after him with age, or especially going after anything to do with relationships and dying alone. And I can't remember. I said something that was especially savage this weekend, and it was so bad, even by my own standards. I was like, "Oh shit, maybe I've overstepped the mark."
No, man, just you went up a notch in respect.
No, but then 10 minutes later, I can't remember what happened. You're obviously like you're out walking your dog, and you immediately just counterpunch, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's okay, it's fine."
Yeah.
So it is interesting.
Yeah, because let me ask you, had we have said any of that to somebody of the opposite sex, would they have seen it as respect? Would they have seen it as showing affection? Or would they have seen it as toxic? So that begets an interesting question, right? Because men have no problem talking to men like other men, right? If you look at the article, in predominantly female-dominated businesses, toxicity is less.
Yes.
So is it that there's less toxicity, or is it that women talk to women differently than men talk to men? I don't think that I'm being sexist by saying that's just a fact.
Yeah, right. I mean, it says here, 16 occupations with the smallest toxic culture gap. I mean, and just even that label.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like... Yeah. Anyway, were also the occupations which have a disproportionately high percentage of female employees. Childcare workers, psychologists, social workers, communication associates, for example. So that could arguably supports your thesis.
Yeah, and then but here's where, and this is where I think you and I, as much as we like to joke around, we can also look at our fallibility as well. I don't think it's right to ask women to communicate to us the way we would expect another dude to communicate with us. Hands down, right? But is it fair for them to ask that we speak to them differently than we would? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like there's that two-way street. And I got to say, in that situation, I think you kind of got to look at like, what's the harsher, right? So if women communicate to women with less toxicity and less insults and less thing, then I think it's probably maybe it's fair for them to expect that in a work environment, we tone it down and we speak to them in the way that maybe they would appreciate versus we going, hey, we're good, we're dudes, we just insult people, you know? So it's a tough call.
Example, because look, it's almost like whatever we say now.
I'm sweating so hard. I'm sweating so hard right now. And I'm trying to be on the side of feminism.
So my partner, she is one of 7 children, so she has 6 siblings, right?
First off, your partner is more insulting than I am.
Well, and this is where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
So as in, because I also don't like the male-female comparison. Now, there might be certain things, well, there are clearly certain things which are physical differences, but then there are certain things that, is it cultural or is it genetic? I can remember from when my children were small, like my daughter, both my daughters were definitely pink dolls, like were drawn more towards it, and my son was like, I remember the first time the first supercar I had, my son was about 4 when I bought it, and he came outside, I think he was 3 actually, and he came outside and he was like, my daughter came out and was like, oh look, come on, look at Daddy's new car, like bragging, and my eldest daughter comes to the door, and she's 5 or 6, and she goes, oh, okay, turns around, goes back inside.
Didn't even care.
To adults, doesn't care. My son comes to the door and he kind of waddles up to the door and carrying whatever, and he got to the door, and his eyes like shot, and he just went, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like the Batmobile, right? Like it was a Ferrari F430 Spider in black, so it did look kind of like the Batmobile.
Sure.
And he was like, and he always wanted to go in the car, but he was too young to understand what the brand meant. So it wasn't like, this brand represents something or represents.
There was something genetic inside him that appealed to that power.
That was that's like my judgment. But then it's interesting because clearly it's not always true. Any stereotyping is, while it may have regularity, it's not generically true. So in my partner's, her family culture, it is so hardcore, brutal in a black humor way. So their father sadly committed suicide when he was when the kids were still children, and the way they've survived are those siblings.
Gets dark.
6 of the 7 are female, and they are hardcore abusive. Not by my judgment in a toxic way, but in a, to use example of you and I, in a masculine abusive way, absolutely ribbing each other, literally going for where it hurts, wherever their Achilles heel is. Like, so I've got your inability to hold down a relationship, right? Like they will be savage, and it just becomes so normalized. So I fit right in.
I think if people didn't know you and didn't know her and saw you two interacting together, they would probably think that you two are the most unhealthy, abusive couple out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and by the way, they may be right. If Laurie was here, she would tell you, no, we do sometimes get looks, because, it's we're always, what was it, that a good relationship is, a long-term relationship is the person that you want to annoy for the rest of your life. That's how we operate. We're always just winding each other up, practical jokes all the time. And so frequently when we're out, we know what we're doing, and it's in our relationship is fine. And sometimes we'll get looks. And I will say, I get a lot more looks than she does. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He's totally gaslighting
Oh,
her.
Interesting. But she can say stuff and she doesn't get as many looks. That's interesting.
But of course, that's my biased perception, right?
True.
I see people looking at me like, "Oh my God, you're being abusive."
Yeah.
Anyway.
So back to this. So the question then begets: are men more abusive, or are men just speaking more like themselves, or are women just have a different definition of what abuse is and toxicity is? I don't know what the rules are, but I do know this. I think we as men could probably do better.
100%. I mean, I was going to take a more vanilla answer, which I think is supportive in your statement. I do think men can do better. I also think I'm glad that the conversation is happening. Right? It's not stuff isn't hidden. Whilst I think, so how do you navigate some of these discussions, and when is it gaslighting, or when is it toxic versus when is it it's part of a healthy culture or a productive culture in a specific environment? That's tricky, and I don't think that's simplistic to do. So I'm glad that the conversation is happening.
And that's a good attitude.
It needs to happen.
Yeah. Interesting. So, men, be careful what you say.
I would argue that you're significantly bringing down the average.
Me?
Well, man.
No, I can tell you, man.
I'm using the term man to...
Okay, got it. So you're just addressing the fact that I'm not quite a man.
Well,
I got you. Yeah.
I was saying, I'm doing well. You, on the other hand, you could do better. Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
Hero of the week.
Let's talk about the hero of the week.
Hero of the week.
Yes.
So hero of the week is...
I'm excited about this one. This is cool. Go for
it. And talking about us ribbing each other.
Yes.
This pains me a little bit to say it, but it is just and fair, and it's our very own Dan Bradbury Limited's Kevin Hall.
Yes.
So Kevin is renowned. He is...
I think, honestly, would it be fair to say that your customers like him more than you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be fair. That would be... I'm going to say that is a fact.
Yeah.
Almost unanimous.
I've never heard anyone utter a bad word about that man.
Well,
except for you.
Yeah, I do all the time. Yeah. So apparently I'm told, my social skills are sometimes lacking. Well, I say yes, I know. That's why I hired Kevin. Right? So Kevin is epic, world class on all things culture.
Yeah.
All things culture and people, and that's why. Actually, coming up on 23rd of May, he's doing a culture by design.
Yes. And he is the perfect man for that, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously a well-known saying, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. But Sonia Gill from our community said culture is queen.
Yes.
And I think that's true. I think that, I'm into the analytics and the numbers, but it needs to be supported by a healthy work culture. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And that's why on the 23rd of May, Kevin's going to be doing his infamous Culture by Design workshop. Skills Day, we'll put a link in the show notes. And Kevin, you're rocking it, my friend. You're helping. You speak to any of our clients that have spent time with Kevin working on their culture.
Yeah.
They've always got good things to say.
I will tell you, we've been doing the management masterminds together. And when we're sitting there brainstorming about how do you script or what do you say to a manager in a specific situation, he is always just 100% on with the most compassionate, empathetic ways to communicate what other people might consider to be really harsh news. And he can just do it so well. Yeah, he's a good man.
Yeah, love it. Kevin Hall, enjoy it, my friend.
Yeah, because the insults are coming real hard right after this.
Yeah, I've got to balance it out. He can't get his ego, let it get too big. All right.
Book of the week?
Book of the week. Seamless.
You couldn't even tell.
So I'll let you take this one, Topher, because I have not read this book. So this was your...
yes, this is because we've ran out of books about culture that you've read, because that shows you how little you care about company culture.
That's why I hired Kevin.
Yes, exactly right. We just go to him for the book of the week of the culture. But this book, I will tell you, I met Andy. So the book, we should probably talk about it, is called Committed Action, and it's by Andy Bass. I gotta confess, I did not want to read this book. I bought it out of just helping out a fellow entrepreneur. It was the book got done. He was on a Zoom call with me and a bunch of other entrepreneurs.
Clear,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I've not read the book yet, but I hate the title and I hate the subhead.
Yes, I didn't want to read the book because I thought the book title was just so bad.
It sounds like garbage.
Yes, I know, right. I know.
Persuade me.
Yeah, well, so he wrote the book and he goes, hey, my book just came out on Amazon. We got it on sale. So everybody on the call, we all immediately went to Amazon. We bought the book, right? That's as you do, right?
Yeah, for a friend to call you, buy the book, put a review in.
Yeah. I thought I'd never read the damn book, but I was just out of books at the time. So I thought, I'll read the book. Dan, I'm not kidding, man. This is my favorite book ever written on company culture.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big old claim because you've read your fair share of books. Because, by the way, I just want to emphasize how badly I hate this title. I couldn't be more clear. I don't like the imagery of the book. This looks like this was an A-level project. No, actually not an A-level. My son could have done this for an art project at school. Sorry, Andy, and I'm sure your book's great, and I will read it. Topher's endorsed it so heavily. But look, just so the viewers know, I'm on your side. Committed action, the 3-step method to inspire your people to take ownership and get results. I just kind of go, oh my God, it feels like Life Coach 101 bullshit.
Yeah. Honestly, I really kind of felt that way. But I will tell you, Dan, this book is amazing. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why it's good.
Okay.
Every book out there on company culture they're always the same. They talk about the importance of culture. They talk about how you have to have a strong culture. They give you examples in the book about companies with bad culture and companies with good culture. And you get to the end of the book, you still don't have a fucking clue how to develop a culture.
Communicate.
Right, yeah.
Vision.
Like there's
Talk
just
about your values.
There's no tangible steps involved in that, right? This book gives you he's got a 3-part, or what he calls a 3-step plan, and each of those 3 steps has 3 subsets in them for a total of 9 components. It is laid out perfectly to where at the end of the book you go, yeah, I get it. This is exactly the roadmap you need to take to change the culture, to modify the culture, and to perfect the culture. Yeah, it's so good. He's so good. He's coming out to your mastermind, by the way, next week. No, next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's coming out, and I'm interviewing him because I've already done a book review on this, and I'm going to do a little interview with him. You'll get to meet him and tell him how much you hate the cover of his book in person. But I'm also trying to get him booked to be a guest speaker at your mastermind.
Andy, I do love you. It's funny. I haven't even met him yet, and I'm already insulting his book.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
he can take.
I guess I've got to read it now.
Yeah. You honest to God, you'll love it. In fact, when I wrote the review, when I did the review, I take excerpts, quotes that I loved out of the book. Every one of the quotes that I put in the preview, all out of the intro. Like the intro alone on this book is worth buying.
This is a big claim.
Yeah.
Are you on commissions?
No, I'm not. I'm telling you, I fell in love with the book and him. He's just a great guy.
All right, Committed Action by Andy Bass.
Yep.
Add it to the list, people.
All right, let's get on to the quote of the week, my friend.
I am begrudging about this because, a lot of people love him. For some reason, I just don't gel with him well.
By the way, I put this quote in.
Sinek.
I put this quote in because you keep sending me all these damn Tim Ferriss podcasts that you want me to listen to, and I feel about Tim Ferriss like you feel about Simon Sinek.
Yeah, but there's a difference, Topher. I don't make you listen to the Tim Ferriss show. If I hear an interview where there's something that I think is pertinent that you would find helpful, I'll share the podcast with you. And you always go, oh, Tim Ferriss, I might just listen to this section for crying out loud. Sure. I don't put it in the slides and make you publish it in front of an audience. While I agree with this quote.
By the way, as much as I don't like Tim Ferriss, I do admit his 4-Hour Workweek is a good book.
Have you read any of his other books?
No.
Have you ever listened to his podcast?
No.
Oh my God.
There's just something about him. I'll tell you exactly why I don't like him. I don't like Tim Ferriss because he's the kind of guy that does something once and thinks he's an expert at it, and then he thinks he has the right to teach people how to do it. And I don't like that.
I'm going to call you out and say I don't agree with that judgment whatsoever.
It could be wrong.
I'm telling you it is. As somebody that's actually consumed his content.
He often brags about doing something once and then shows you how to do it.
Give me one example.
Martial arts, Taekwondo champion. I think it was Taekwondo or one of those martial arts, how he learned how to game the system and do it. There's also videos of him on YouTube teaching you how to train your dog while he has his dog, who is a puppy, who he has not trained yet, and he's teaching you how to do it.
I don't know if either of those are true. I'll point out on the martial arts, he won a world title.
He gamed the system. He's not good at martial arts. He gamed the system.
Well,
he knew it was all about weight and leverage. That was it.
Well, my point would be, you've never listened to his Dan podcast. You've only read his first book. I think he's matured significantly over the last 5-6 years. He's outrageously grown and expanded. And it really comes through in his podcast content. Yeah. And I think you're being a judgmental little bitch.
I probably am. Just like you are with Simon Sinek. Should we get to the quote, by the way?
I don't want to now. But to give him credit, I do agree with this quote, which is, customers will never love a company until the employees love it first. I agree with that hands down. I mean, previously when we've ranted about kind of minimum wage employees and giving bad service or employing people that really give a crap, I think that's it. Like, you as the owner, if you've got cheap staff, and cheap doesn't necessarily mean paid less, but they are staff members that aren't culturally aligned and engaged, you cannot scale that company.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a good quote. He's a good man. But I get it. But by the way, interestingly,
like you know him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You've read one of his books and you've watched one of his podcasts. He's a great man.
Actually, I'm not actually a huge fan of his books. I like even his was it called Start With Why?
Yeah.
I love the concept, but I think he fails in telling people the context of when you should start with why. And because I teach pitching, and a lot of people come up to me and go, well, Topher, Simon Sinek says you should start with why. I'm like, yeah, but not during a social pitch, not when you're doing an elevator pitch. Leave the damn why out or you're going to be weird. So I could even critique Simon as well. But I just had to put the quote in there because...
You're my bad books.
Yeah.
Get on the naughty step.
All right. Let's see. Do you have a quote that you'd like to say from an entrepreneur that you really enjoy, admire, and think he's just genius?
A great quote by a legendary entrepreneur says, Topher Morrison, go fuck yourself.
I teed you up so you could do your quote,
I know,
you ass.
I know. Anyway, quickly followed by, if you want a better business, you need to become a better business owner. See you next time.
Fuck being a better human.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. 3 things you need to do now. Number 1, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you do not miss an episode. Also, get on over to Amazon to get a copy of my latest book, Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity, 9.5 Steps to Improving Your Profits and Cash Flow. Also, join our Facebook group, the Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity community, to connect with other business owners.